Hello everyone, my name is Victor Escobar and I'm with California Baptist University. My presentation is on the topic of is school parental involvement linked to student achievement? More specifically, I'm looking at that topic related to multiple countries. So what approaches did they use to analyze parental involvement in terms of student achievement, and what were those outcomes? Okay, so some factors that should be considered include the different types of parental involvement. So there are two categories that are taught across the research articles that I delved into, and those include home-based and school-based parental involvements. I also looked at barriers to parental involvement, which served as additional variables, which at times made it difficult to assess which variables were responsible for the outcomes. And you see in a lot of these different articles, it's harder to establish a framework in this case, but they do look overall at the trends, the patterns conducted in each of these experiments or each of these research ideas, and look at the empirical evidence and the trends that are present. Also including the cultural norms, right, which include language, dialects, and nationality. These are important to consider, especially in terms of parental involvement or barriers to parental involvement. I looked at methodology in comparative studies, right, to determine how the outcomes differed, and then what were the different solutions that were proposed. So parental involvement types include two types again. One is home-based, and these are not all of the examples. These are just some of the examples to illustrate the home-based, right? So in this case, we have home-based includes parent homework support, checking and monitoring of that homework, reading aloud to children, parental encouragement, expectations and aspirations for children, and dialogue or communication at home. So these are just home-based types. Examples of school-based types include visiting classes and teachers frequently, volunteering, attending school functions. These fall more in the lines of the school walls where parents come or involved. Okay, so barriers to parental involvement included some cultural, economic, and social barriers. These include divorce rates, single-parent family homes. In some instances, both parents work. Self-efficacy, right? So how well, or maybe what the parents believe about themselves in terms of providing education or talking to their children about education. Cultural backgrounds, right, and low income were some of the barriers to parental involvement. Some of the methodology that I found in the research included meta-analyses, so experiments that were conducted usually through survey of parents, students, teachers, and principals, and then they did like a comparison, right? And so a lot of these research actually provided a meta-synthesis of those meta-analyses, and they did longitudinal studies, so over some time period, and then looked at the empirical evidence, right, from the surveys, from their observations, and measured how it correlated, or how those parental involvement types correlated to student achievement, whether they correlated in a positive, negative, or neutral manner. And in a lot of these instances, across the boards, they were consistent and also surprising. So one framework that I did find Spain and Germany were using was called PISA, so Program for International Student Assessment. So international data in Spain and Germany on the PISA revealed that I only provided two examples here. There are several types of parental involvements, but I found like these were pretty much the most surprising or more relevant topics. So in terms of having discussions between parents and students in terms of their performance, there was a positive correlation. So if they never or hardly talked to their students, we saw lower averages, right, at about 439, 448 for Spain and Germany. But when those discussions occurred every day or almost every day, those averages increased to about 533 and 503. It's important to keep in mind that the average PISA was about 500. So this was an example of a positive correlation in terms of parental involvement to student achievement. Looking at a very negative correlated one we see here, which is surprising. Today most parents help their students with homework, right? Students struggle with homework, and also parents do. And so this may contribute to why this is so negative. So they found that when parents never or hardly ever assisted or supported their children with homework, they had higher averages at 505 and 552. And then when they supported their children every day or almost every day, their averages fell by a lot, 44 and 469. So this isn't just an example, right? And this could be pointed to maybe the behaviors of parents' frustration or students' frustration as they work together during homework. There's also some international evidence in Asia, and this falls more in the realm of culture, right? If we don't look at culture as an important aspect of parental involvement, we miss a huge demographic. And in our country, those include other cultures as well that we have to assess the needs of. So cultural differences in Thailand, right? There's a higher trust in school and teachers and administrators to do their job, and that's because in Thailand there's a lower parental self-efficacy, right? They don't believe they have the tools or knowledge to assist in educating their children, so there's a placement of high expectation of the education system and high trust value. So Thailand is not supported the concept of parental involvement in education of their children. I thought this was an important study to include, so that we see how these cultural differences really affect the parental involvement. Metasynthesis of S. Wilder, which was an American study, also came across, or also resulted in the outcome that parental expectations and aspirations show the greatest positive coefficient correlation to student achievement than supervision of children at home. So it's really important that we avoid micromanaging, right? Parental expectations and aspirations of children really increase when the parent has high self-efficacy, when they are provided the tools, the culture of the school, and the knowledge by the school to really help parents have those conversations and really develop those expectations and aspirations for students, so that students really are encouraged, and so that student achievement is increased. And when we talk about student achievement, we are talking about average GPA and average standardized test scores, as seen throughout the studies that I look through. This also reflects parents' beliefs and attitudes with regards to school, teachers, subjects, and education in general. So if we can provide the culture of the school, we can provide them the knowledge and the tools, this really also improves so that they can have that more positive, encouraged dialogue with their children. Parental attendance and participation in school activities had no statistically significant impact on student academic achievement. And again, these are the outcomes found in the Wilder study. Where to begin? Effective parent involvement shifts from parents as tutor or teacher role to parent as coach, mentor, supporter. So there needs to be a shift here. And parent as teacher or tutor really falls into the elementary level. And we see as these children in middle school, high school students get older, they really need that coach at home. And if schools can provide the tools and knowledge again to parents, this would be helpful. Provide tools and knowledge to parents in order to support higher parental expectation and aspirations for their children, which was the highest positively correlated measure across studies they found, and improve self-efficacy. Parents as facilitators at home and not micromanagers. And then again, be inclusive of all parents, including differences in the culture, language, dialect, and nationality. Some of the German solutions, right, that I found include guide for parents, right? So these guides are heavily culturally relevant, and they assess the different types of parents, nationalities, dialects, and languages, so that they can support these parents who may otherwise not attend school meetings or not understand the culture of the school. There are also tent camps and family visits, so parents and teachers come together and they stay the night and they hold workshops and they talk and they infuse so they understand the culture in the community. COSFRAS, which is teacher and parent education, really focuses on how teachers can talk with parents in order to supply them with these tools and knowledge. In the US, we see something called a school family community partnership process model, which is a counseling model that really focuses on ensuring that there's a family liaison, that there's a cultural resource binder, that there's an inclusive mission statement that really tells what this culture of the school is. Parent-teacher seminars, they emphasize democratic collaboration, parent empowerment, social capital, and strengths focus. So social capital meaning using parents as jobs and roles in society to really influence and inspire children, because there's a plethora of resources in a school if we look at parents and really linking those parents to students. Ensuring that parents have a democratic involvement in the school, what students are doing, what activities they take part in for the year. Parent empowerment, giving parents the voice. So all of these ideas are really process-based in ensuring that each of these steps are met so that parents have a platform, an avenue for which to really gain these tools and knowledge to support that parental involvement of high expectations and aspirations for their children. Again, this was found across the studies in terms of the patterns and trends found in these research tests. So again, here are my references, and thank you for listening.